Hi, so this week's Parsha, Parashat Naso, is actually the longest Parsha in the Torah. And the Parsha starts with talking about the Mishkan and the Avodat HaLeviim, and also concludes with talking about the Mishkan as you'd expect, the Trumot, what the Nisi'im brought to the Mishkan. Which is why it begs the question, so why is it that when talking about national things, that of the Mishkan, where all Bnei Yisrael would gather together, why is it in the middle of this Parsha of Naso do we discuss small parshiot which seem to be unrelated, such as Nazir and Sotah? Perhaps we have to look into the story of the Sotah just a bit to perhaps understand why it is that it's there in this context. These seem to be very, very personalized. You have Nazir, it's a very rare case. If someone decides he becomes a Nazir, that's clearly very uncommon. And also the story of Sotah, extremely painful, where a couple unfortunately doesn't get along and there are trust issues. But in part of the process, that without getting into much detail, Hashem's name is erased. In part of the process, we actually erase Hashem's name. And that, our rabbis teach us, comes to tell us a lesson that Gadol HaShalom, the Shalom, the peace, is so great and so important that Hashem is willing to give up on his name in order to achieve that Shalom, in order to achieve that peace. And which is why this general idea is brought down into practicality of halacha. If someone has limited resources and he only has enough money to either light Shabbat candles or Hanukkah candles or even other things, the halacha, as the Rambam says, we choose the Shabbat candles because the purpose of the Shabbat candles is for shalom bayit, to have peace in the home, and that is the most important possible thing. Hashem is willing to give up on his name. That's the thing we need to prioritize, and which is why this parasha is very important. But why smack in the middle? That is because we grow up with this idea, at least I did, growing up with the idea that, around Yom Noraim, we have to be part of Klal Yisrael. You need to be minyan, you want to be that, because at the end of the day, the power of Klal Yisrael is that which we could also, in a positive way, ignore the minorities, ignore the individuals within, and rather rely on the general power, the tremendous power of Klal Yisrael. But at the same time, perhaps this parsha is teaching us, yes, no question about it, the Mishkan in itself is a place that will bring priests on a national level. But in order to achieve that, we cannot forget the individual families, the individual people. Perhaps the only way to achieve a general shalom is you can't just say, oh, klal, and ignore the prat, ignore the small individuals. That this achieving a general peace has to go with starting by very small things, starting in your personal relationship with yourself, with your spouses, with your family members, in order to achieve a general shalom that we, of course, are praying for, both a spiritual one and a physical one. It has to start in small. It's you and your friend and the people around you, each and every single individual home. When they make sure that they have shalom internally, that could later be expanded and to bring a tremendous shalom. Which is why, after understanding that idea, starting with the Mishkan, though not forgetting that we also have individuals, we have the Nazir, we have the Sotah, only after that do we come across the Birkat Kohanim. The proper V'yasem Lecha Shalom, the true peace, could only be done after each and every single individual understands that, has his own responsibility to improve his relationships with his surroundings, and then we could, B'ezrat Hashem, achieve the true Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.